So today we're taking my garage on the road. We're heading down the road to a friend's house. This lady, she's renting her house, but she's wanting to move out. She put a deposit down on her house, and she wants to get her deposit back. The problem is, there is a hole in her wall. Of course, you got a hole in your wall, you're renting your house, you're not getting your deposit back, right? So I'm not sure how to patch the hole, but I've got a friend that's gonna meet us there, and he's gonna teach me and you how to patch a hole in the wall. Today, helping me, I've got my daughter, Deborah. She's my camera woman. So, Deborah, say hello to everybody.
Hello!
All right. Thank you, Deborah, for helping me out with this. When I was a kid, I put a couple holes in walls that my dad had to fix. I'm really good at putting holes in the wall, but not so good at fixing them. That's why I have friends. And those friends are going to help you guys out today too. So, see you at the house. So here's my friend Ryan I told you guys about a minute ago. He's going to help us with patching the hole in the wall. Like I said, I'm good at putting holes in the wall. Ryan's good at fixing them. He's fixed a couple things that I've done around with a big scratch in the wall. Remember that one?
Oh yeah,
in the Student Center. Yeah, we messed that up and you fixed it. Ryan recently broke out of prison and he's here to help us do this today.
Show you how to fix a wall. This is gonna do just fine.
Maybe we should introduce the hole in the wall.
Yes.
And then you can show the equipment you're going to use. We'll
Sure.
have you show us the equipment we're going to use, and then we'll just go through the process.
Fantastic.
So now here we are, and here is our guest of honor right there, the hole. And thank goodness it's not too big. I remember the one I made when I was a kid was a bit bigger than that. So we might take Ryan's head and put it through the wall.
Yeah, I've done that.
No, that's a bad idea.
Old as the four boys.
The
It's
patch is
fun.
not big enough for that head.
Different type of process to fix it.
All right, Ryan, show us what we need to be able to do this.
Okay. This one's simple since it's a small patch. So what I use is a thin concealed mesh patch. It's adhesive on the back side, so we can cover the hole and then apply our joint compound. In the industry, so we call it drywall mud. So I've used this on a recent project, so
nice.
I know that it dries fairly well. They have all different types of brands: Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. You can get it all over the place.
Sweet.
Fairly inexpensive. The patch is just a matter of a couple dollars. Mud is fairly cheap. You can buy it in bags, mix it up yourself. They have kits that will come with a patch and small amount of mud as well.
Oh.
So if it's something that you don't need a whole bunch of tools, you can pick that up at a hardware store fairly inexpensively.
Nice.
For tools, we use a couple metal knives to apply the mud. I'll use a larger and a wider just for making sure that it gets spread out evenly. Sanding block, sanding paper, something like that to tear down any extra junk and give it a nice clean edge.
Okay.
Once our first coat dries, we'll use this to sand it down, blend it into the wall, allowing us to have a nice clean surface to apply the texture to match the wall and paint.
That's probably the hardest part, matching the texture, right?
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
This
like
will be interesting.
Definitely. So this one, fairly easy, self-explanatory. It's got a paper backing, and you just apply it right over the hole and make it as smooth as possible. They have many different types and ways of patching the holes. They have what we call a California patch. A California patch is going to be something that we make out of drywall, and it's essentially a patch just like this. But we would cut the hole out into a uniform shape and create that mirrored image on a piece of drywall with about 1.5 inches of extra on either side of that patch. We would rip off the excess so that we would have a paper backing, and we could plug that hole and then mud over a piece of fresh drywall.
Nice.
In this case, makes it really easy to just apply a mesh patch. Smooth it out so it's flush with the wall, and we're ready to give it some mud.
Sweet.
Like I said, I used this at another project recently, so it's already been well used.
You use this, it's so clean.
Very clean.
I don't think anything in my garage is that clean.
super fine dust when it dries. Dries nice and hard. And that's it. So I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure on the center of this patch to push mud
It's going through the
through and filling back in behind a little bit there. And once we've got it full, we're gonna take our mud out past the patch a little bit and we're going to just cover it. The first coat tends to look ugly. It takes a few coats and we can really cause this to blend in well with the wall once it dries and we do our second coat.
Perfect. It's already looking really good, just to start with.
Pretty simple.
That is so nice.
All right.
You're kind of creating a little texture now. Is that what you're doing, or?
Just wanting to make sure it's got a good coat and as smooth as possible.
How many coats do you typically do?
Depends on how it's drying and how much of I need to make it smooth and match the existing
match
wall.
the texture.
So this one is moving fairly smoothly. I think after we let this dry, a second coat and we'll be perfect and ready for texture. Generally 1 to 2 coats is what I deal with.
Okay.
But even the instructions on the patch will tell you to repeat this process until it's smooth.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so I think it's just a waiting game now.
Sounds great. So it looks like we're gonna go grab ourselves a bite to eat and then come back and you get to see what happens afterwards.
Okay.
Aaron, do you want to say hi?
Hey guys. So we're back from getting something to eat. In-N-Out was really good. I enjoyed that.
Very good.
And now we're back on the wall.
That's it. So we did our first coat, we let it dry. So we're gonna take a wet sponge. If you read the instructions for the drywall mud, it tells you to hit it with a wet sponge. A sanding block or sandpaper will work as well as. So the whole goal there is just to knock up the rough edges and bring it as flat as possible with the existing wall. So we'll hit that with the sponge just to blend in the edges and knock down the high spots from the wall mud there.
Kind of using the sponge like kind of like a sandpaper, a light sandpaper.
Exactly like sandpaper, and it brings these rough edges in flush with the wall.
Oh, I see. It's kind of taking them down. It's kind of matching the pattern of the wall around it. Interesting. I never would have thought a sponge would be strong enough to do something like that.
Okay. So then while this is drying, you notice there's a little bit of cracking. That happens if we get the mud drying fairly quickly. And a thin coat, a second coat should cover that as well as the rest of the mesh that's exposed.
Sweet. What difference a second coat makes.
Yeah, the first coat can be pretty ugly in the scheme of things. Second coat makes a world of difference. And then I like to use a larger knife to just lightly come over here and smooth it all out.
Sweet.
And this we'll let dry and it'll be just about ready for a texture. So I think it's dry enough that we're gonna add a little bit of the texture. We've used the sponge to kind of blend it in around the edges. So that's gonna hide our patch and a little bit of texture. Today, I'm just going to use an artist knife. I'm just gonna dab some mud in no random pattern.
You need a Bob Ross wig.
Yes. So Bob Ross was a hero of mine when I was growing up.
Yep, that's just a happy little accident.
That's it. Okay. And then we'll go through this with our sponge after it starts to dry a little bit better, and we'll soften that up.
It already looks pretty amazing, man.
Okay, so now we hurry up and wait.
It's like being back in the army again. My favorite way to work is to sit in a lawn chair, relax, and watch other people do work.
I'm just gonna use it a little bit wetter than I normally would. So the whole goal here is just to soften the edges to match what is on the wall existing. So I'm gonna let that finish, and I'll finish drying. I'll sand it off and we'll be good to go for paint. I will leave this for them.
I'm so happy how that whole thing turned out. After it was patched and painted, you couldn't even tell the hole was there anymore. I know the woman that owns the house, she is gonna be so very happy when she sees it. She wasn't there when we left. She's not gonna have any trouble getting her deposit back now. It looks amazing. I'm so thankful for my friend Ryan. He did an incredible job. And it was fun taking you guys on the journey. I'm glad you could join me as we were able to take Stuart's Garage on the road and be able to help a friend out in need. So have a great day, and see you next time.